This is David Frederick, and I'm Front Row. Okay, I'm beginning to review Starrcade '83 for my Front Row review. Um, Actually, this isn't the first time I watched through the Starrcade '83 matches. I believe it was 1987. There was a two-tape cassette release. It just said I think Starrcade '87 was released. The Starrcade '87 pay-per-view was released. A two-tape release of the was called the Best of Starrcade, and each of its Starrcade's best matches, of course. And plus there were clips in the Pro Wrestling Illustrated Superstar Super Bouts. They had a lot of clips from Starrcade '83, Starrcade '84, and some of these matches I see the clips, but not the full matches. It's the first time I get to see these full matches from the WWE Network. The first match, Starrcade '83. The Assassins with Paul Jones versus Bugsy McGraw and Rufus R. Jones. And Rufus R. Jones is the Mid-Atlantic champion at the time. This is something that really, I had to say, I wish I was. I didn't pick up watching NWA Wrestling, Jim Crockett Promotions, until about January 1986. We didn't have the cable, cable television didn't appear until about 1986 in Philadelphia. So you'd have to have been in the Mid Atlantic territory, the Carolinas, Virginia, that area to have seen Mid Atlantic wrestling. Because I was in the Philadelphia area, and guys like Bugsy McGraw, Rufus R. Jones are really, really fun to watch. Wow. I said before that Rufus R. Jones is a lot like Dusty Rhodes. Bugsy McGraw, I get a kick out of him. He's like a Jimmy Valiant, but can wrestle far better. He's a. I was noting Bugsy McGraw is a nutcase. He's fun to watch. They dominated the Assassins. Really took it to them. It was a basic wrestling. It was a wrestling match, but Bugsy and Rufus are really nutcases in the ring. Fun to watch. It was a really kind of disturbing ending. Bugsy and Rufus really took it to them in their own way, their own nutcase, wild, no mannerisms and charisma. But all of a sudden, one of the assassins, when the assassins tagged in, all of a sudden they rolled up Bugsy into a quick pin. It was, in a sense, disappointing the way the ending was. It wasn't no all four men in the ring. Paul Jones did not interfere. It's a disturbing ending, but a very fun match to watch. I really wish I could have seen, in the Mid Atlantic days, the early '80s, watching Rufus R. Jones and Bugsy McGraw. They would have been fun to watch. All right, okay, the second match of the night for Starrcade '83 was another tag team match: Johnny Weaver and Scott McGee versus Kevin Sullivan and Mark Lewin with Gary Hart. I know Mark Lewin is also known as the Purple Haze. Now, Starrcade '83 is a lot of different territory matches. These guys, second tag team match was many Florida-based wrestlers. And Scott McGee, I remember reading about him a lot. He was a really young Florida rookie, and Kevin Sullivan and the Purple Haze Mark Lewin. They were long-time rivals of Dusty Rhodes. Long-time, oh my God, they're one of the most notable heels in the history of wrestling. Honest to God, for a tag team match, it wasn't really fast paced. It wasn't fun, but it was a tag team match of Florida-based guys, Florida territory, so championship wrestling from Florida. It was the one note thing I had to note was in the beginning of the match, Kevin Sullivan. He was he was labeled the Boston Battler. Give me a break. What the heck that even meant? He's from Boston. And but it wasn't really that much fun to watch. However, the ending got real wild. It's something that you would have seen the Florida territory, which these guys can get crazy, wild, violent, definitely violent. It ended with Mark Lewin pinning Johnny Weaver. I believe it was Kevin Sullivan was holding Johnny Weaver, holding his arm out. Mark Lewin came off the top rope and really whole body weight on the arm. When Johnny Weaver went down and Mark Lewin pinned him. The real close up on Johnny Weaver's face, his forehead. Wow, talk about carved up. Talk about the flesh forehead where you've bladed. Wow, a lot. I never expected to see Johnny Weaver with a really cut up forehead. But he did a lot of had a lot of bloody matches in his time. But then young Scott McGee, the rookie, he went to drop kick Gary Hardy did, but Gary Hardy then pulled a long white object. It reminded me of what I read about in the magazine. It was called a golden spike, and Kevin Sullivan would attack a lot of guys in Florida with a golden spike. It was white colored though. They brutalized Scott McGee, busted him open in the forehead, and then Angelo Mosca, a legend out of the Mid-Atlantic area. He went to try to save the guys, and Kevin Sullivan went to attack him with his white long object at his arm. They were saying that Mosca was busted open, but I don't think so. But Angelo Mosca finally he got back up and fought off Lewin and Sullivan. Though the ending was much more wild and more interesting than the match itself. Alright, the third match of the night for Starrcade 83, Carlos Colon versus Abdullah the Butcher. This is definitely a near territory match out of Puerto Rico. One of the most dangerous territories that so many wrestlers have talked about. Wow. One thing that kept getting repeated was this match was banned in Puerto Rico. How about it was probably the other way around? That a lot of the Americans don't. I mean, as much as they would have been maybe enjoyed about the pay rate, but to work in Puerto Rico, what to say? My God, they kept repeating and repeating this match is banned in Puerto Rico. Carlos Colon and Abdullah Butcher have fought forever in Puerto Rico. Carlos Colon, both guys are legends, and to say that it's like. Just to say that it's banned, it would be the other way around. This would be a unique match to see in America. You see Abdullah Butcher much more in World Class in Texas and in WCW in the 90s. Carlos Colon, I don't think he did much wrestling here in America. I don't think so. He was eventually inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame. Abdullah too, controversially. But this match, it's typical of their typical Puerto Rican feud. Their promotion WWC World Wrestling Council. It was a typical match. Wasn't really that long, bloody. They had some kind of white object, a fork. Abdullah Butcher usually it's a fork or a plastic object. It was almost smaller, similar to what Gary Hart used in the previous match. And typically Abdullah Butcher, I think I don't think anyone has not seen a match Abdullah Butcher hasn't bled. I think he's more of a blading type than Dusty Rhodes ever was. You cannot. I don't think you can find a match Abdullah Butcher never bled. But Carlos Colon was I think he brought the blood on to Abdullah first. If this had been a first blood match, Carlos Colon would have won. One of the strangest moments of this honestly short match was Carlos Colon putting a figure four on Abdullah the Butcher. We've seen Bret Hart put a figure four on Yokozuna, and it's hard to picture putting a figure four on a huge man. And Abdullah Butcher, 400 pounds. It's hard to picture putting a figure four on a big man like that, but he did. There was one moment where the referee was counting for Colon pinning Abdullah, but Abdullah kicked out. It pushed Colon up in the air on top of the referee, kind of bumping the referee in a sense, hurting him because Colon was on top of the referee's back. Then when Abdullah got up and went to drop an elbow on Colon moved out of the way, and Abdullah Butcher does an elbow drop on a referee. It's like my God, a 400-pound man dropping on top of you. And just a little bit later, Colon went to pin Abdullah. No, sorry, it was when Colon put the figure four on Abdullah. Apparently, Abdullah Butcher's manager Hugo Savinovich Gordon Sully says, "Somebody just charged the ring." Hugo Sinovich, he's in a bluish tuxedo. Sometime he came in and hit Cologne on the head with an object, and Abdullah pins calls Cologne. This match is seen on the best of I mentioned before, a best of Starrcade VHS 2 tape. This was a little bit more interesting than the previous tag match. The only thing annoying as a match when they begin saying this match was banned in Puerto Rico, and I said it was the other way around. But it was definitely a match. I think it's a territory match. Where these guys appeared on Mid Atlantic TV. I would believe to promote the show, but it was probably the second among the two most interesting matches of the night so far. All right, the fourth match here at Stark 83, Wahoo McDaniel and Mark Youngblood versus Bob Orton Jr. and Dick Slater. This is the third tag team match of the night. Wow, only one single match so far. Good fast-paced tag match, very entertaining. Wow. I remember seeing the clips of this match on the Pro Wrestling Illustrated videotape Superstars Super Bouts. I don't think it was on the Best of Starrcade though. But a very good, fast-paced, going back and forth tag team match. Wow. The one thing I always get a kick out of that Gordon Sully always calls a suplex. He calls it a supplay. Any match I've ever seen Gordon Sully, he always calls a suplex a supplay. Yeah, I forgot also this match is seen in the music video, the Pro Wrestling Illustrated tape, Superstar Super Bouts. At the ending of the tape, they do a music video with George Thorogood's Willing a Hand Jive. A very, very well done music video including a lot, matches from that tape, including this match is seen. A lot of clips from this particular match are seen in that music video. It ended with Bob Orton Jr. and Dick Slater winning with, they really took it to Mark Youngblood. A very good. I you can really enjoy Mark Youngblood, especially his brother Jay Youngblood. But Mark Youngblood, a very enjoyable rookie to watch. But Bob Orton Jr. He came off Mark Youngblood with off the top rope with a superplex, and they really did a job on Mark Youngblood. A lot of punishment in this match. At the ending of the match, though, afterward, Dick Slater and Bob Orton Jr. they held Wahoo McDaniel's arm outside the ring. It's like they were going to jump on it. They did jump on it twice. I don't know whether they tore it or injured it, broke it. Don't know. But Bob Orton Jr. pins Mark Youngblood with a superplex to win this match. All right, the fifth match of the night. Downtown Charlie Brown. Obviously, Jimmy Valiant. I've always said I'm not a fan of Jimmy Boogie Woogie Man Valiant. He's an overreactor, good on the mic, good as a charismatic. But this character, Charlie Brown, just with a mask on. Apparently, he had lost a loser leave town match, possibly to Kabuki or somebody of Paul Jones's man. This one, he was wrestling with Great Kabuki with Gary Hart this time. Great Kabuki is the Mid-Atlantic TV champion, although it's announced as the NWA Television champion. Yes, and it's under the banner of the National Wrestling Alliance, but it is the Mid-Atlantic area. It is the Mid-Atlantic TV title. It was a mask versus title because apparently Jimmy Valiant lost a loser leave town match to someone, probably Gary Kabuki, like I said. And then he donned a mask, called himself Downtown Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown, I'm out of town. A very good character. I like the character. I really like the character far better than Jimmy Valiant himself, ironically. In the beginning of the match, it seemed like Charlie Brown was going to put down Great Kabuki very quickly. Twice he had a sleeper on for a while, and he dropped Kabuki down, and it almost like he was the end of the match right there and then twice. Then Great Kabuki made his comeback. Um, Eventually, and they said the match was 60 minutes with the TV title on the line again, a TV title on the line for 15 minutes. How many times I've seen that through apparently through these shows that the TV title's on the line for 15 or 20 minutes. This match was for 60 minutes, but Charlie Brown with an Kabuki. I think Kabuki came off the top rope, missed, and Charlie Brown dropped his elbow and pinned Kabuki, winning the Mid-Atlantic TV title. Gordon Sully says he's not sure on the time, but yeah, Charlie Brown wins the TV title, though, because Jimmy Vant returns into 1984, and this is November of '83, and Charlie Brown is the TV champion, the title would go vacant. So, Mark Youngblood, who was in the previous tag team match, he would win the TV title, the vacant TV title in the tournament, and that would that is when the Mid-Atlantic TV title would become the NWA TV title, and later on, Dusty Rhodes would advance it to becoming a World TV title. This is probably the last time you would ever see the Mid-Atlantic TV title, and although it's announced as the NWA TV title, sorry, it is the Mid-Atlantic TV title. This I said is much more. Charlie Brown's a much more interesting character than ironically than Jimmy Vant, but he regained the TV title from Kabuki with the Jimmy Vant elbow drop. Match number 6, Starrcade '83, the legendary dog collar match. Roddy Piper against U.S. champion Greg Valentine. Even though Gordon Sully had said the U.S. title was on the line, no, it was a non-title match. It should have been a title match. What can be said about this match? Gordon Sully, I'm glad he labeled this knockdown dragout. They beat the living hell out of each other. This went down as one of the most legendary Starrcade, Jim Crockett, NWA, brutal matches in the history of wrestling. If you can list the greatest matches, or not even a wrestling match, but one of the greatest brutal matches in the history of wrestling, this is in the top 5, top 10. Definitely top 5 of Starrcade history. Oh my God, it is. I'm definitely going to have a 3-way commentary with my brother Donald and Jose for wrestling members. We're going to do a commentary for this match. What can I say? About it? It's then one of the most funniest moments actually. This match is in the beginning when they start wrapping the chain around themselves. Greg Valentine had the chain around Roddy's eyes. And Roddy had it around Greg's mouth. The one thing I was concerned for, and they kept saying how dangerous this match was the way that it was a dog collar. That how they didn't injure their necks. Good Lord. How dangerous that would have been. The beginning of the match, in a sense, it was a pull apart. They were the way the match started is they were pulling against each other by the necks, and I'm surprised they didn't injure their necks more, let alone being a bloody match. And Roddy Piper would win it with wrapping the chain around Greg's legs. Greg kept. He was at one moment sitting on the second row. He was sitting on the second top rope, one corner, and he connected with Roddy Piper. But the second time he went for sitting on a turnbuckle, he missed, or Roddy pulled him with a chain, and then wrapped Greg's legs up. Greg just sat there. He didn't even fight. That's what I found strange about the pinfall itself. Roddy won. And Greg didn't even seem to fight even though Roddy was. It was a very vague way that Roddy wrapped Greg's legs to get the pinfall. This should have been a title match though. But both these guys are going to end up in the WWF within a few months of this match. A few months. Dick Slater Greg Valentine would lose the title. Ricky Steamboat. I'm not sure of the title history, but Roddy Piper, Dick Slater, and Greg Valentine, they'd be trading the U.S. title for age 83, 1984. They'd be trading this U.S. title back and forth for these 2 years. But again, this is one of the most notable, popular, legendary, brutal matches in Supercard, NWA, Starrcade history. Definitely a match. We're definitely going to do a commentary about this match. Alright, match number 7 was for the NWA World Tag Team title. The champions, Jack and Jerry Briscoe versus former champions Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood. And strangely, one of the stipulations with the disqualification waived. I'm not going to say waived, but if the Briscoes were disqualified, they'd lose the title. They didn't say waived, but they did say that. Referee was Angela Mosca. I mean, well, Jay Youngblood, Ricky Steamboat. I swear they're like an earlier version of the Rock and Roll Express. They're a great, fun tag team to watch. They became 5-time World Tag Team Champions just in 1983 alone, I believe. Wow, it was their year. But Jack and Jerry Briscoe, watching this match, this is the only match you really get to see them work as a tag team. I said you've had to live in the Mid Atlantic states to even watch them, or if you see wherever they work. Since this is the first time, unless without Stark 83, you don't get to see them work as a tag team anywhere else unless you lived in the places that they worked and they wrestled and went to the arena. Honestly, I didn't see them as a really good tag team. It was a good match, yes, for the World Tag Team Championship. Jack and Jerry Briscoe individually are fantastic wrestlers, legendary. Jack Briscoe is one of the legendary NWA World Champions, one of the greatest amateur wrestlers. No, zero disrespect for these guys, Jack and Jerry Briscoe, whatsoever. No disrespect. But as a tag team in this match, I was not impressed. Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood were far better. Yes, young, fast-paced. Gordon Sully was saying, and Bob Caudle on commentary, they were saying that each team knows each other so well. They know each other's thinking. They work so well together, and I will give that credit. But from this match alone, I was not impressed by the Briscoes. This match ends with, it's a special thing that Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood do for a finisher. Steamboat does a body slam on, and he picks Jay Youngblood up in the air like a body press and drops him down in the opponent. It was Jay Youngblood as Steamboat dropped Jay Youngblood, and their pickup of Steamboat picks up Jay Youngblood onto a standing body press in a sense, drops him onto Jerry Briscoe, and Jay Youngblood pins Jerry Briscoe. They regain the World Tag Team Championship. The funny thing is, Steamboat and Youngblood, they would no longer. This is probably their last tag team time they were tag team together. Ricky Steamboat would apparently retire. He became a co-owner or opened a Gold's Gym in December or January, and no, he went to the WWF. And he was retiring. I know he retired briefly and then went to the WWF where the money was. But Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood regained the World Tag Team Championship. A very good tag team match, but I was not really super impressed by the Briscoes. And no disrespect to either Briscoe, fantastic wrestlers individually. As a tag team, yes, both teams would know each other. They're like both teams are like brothers. Steamboat and Youngblood were together so long they were like brothers. Briscoe brothers, of course. But this was definitely a Rick Steamboat, Jay Youngblood a dominant tag team match for them. All right, the 8th and final match, the main event for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship in a steel cage. Ric Flair versus Harley Race. Is one of the most legendary world title matches, one of the most legendary Starrcade matches, one of the most legendary Ric Flair matches. One thing what Ric Flair said in his shoot interview, and I believe Harley Race said the same thing. Special referee Gene Kiniski. He was a world champion way back in the late '60s. They both said that, if not Flair said, that he was very clumsy in the way, a slow count. Watching this match in full, now this is the first time I've watched this match in full since I said I watched that the two cassette VHS version that was released, I believe, in 1987. And this is the first time I've watched this match in full again. Um, Gene Kiniski was making sure this match was fair. He did have apparently a slow 3 count, but he was being completely fair. He was really arguing with Race and Flair about using the steel cage as a weapon constantly. Honestly, referee Tommy Young, who was the referee in the very first match, and I've argued that Tommy Young should never be the opening match. He's too good a referee. Tommy Young should have refereed this match, especially with his slide, the way he slides into place and gets and does works on the count. Gene Kiniski, just by I wouldn't say celebrity wise, but legendary status, to referee this match to make sure it was a fair match. This is yes, it's notably the first steel cage match, the first NWA World Title match ever held in a steel cage. Most world title match pledge. This is a one fall match, one fall, where most NWA World Championship matches throughout the years, in a decade or more back, decades back, were 2 out of 3 falls. One thing that Gordon Sully and Bob Caudle did commentate about is they both had hatred. Race and Flick Flair had a hatred for each other in this match, and especially in 1983. And Flair had a $25,000 bounty, had Bob Orton Jr. and Dick Slater attack Flair, working on his neck. This. Unless you were you were in the Mid Atlantic, live in the Mid Atlantic area, lived in the Mid Atlantic states, were you able to even follow this feud, know Harley Race that much? This match is definitely a learn. You could definitely learn about Harley Race and Ric Flair styles of, in Harley Race, 7-time world champion. And also one mistake about Ric Flair being world champion. He won it in September 1981. That was his first win from Dusty Rhodes. Gordon Sully calls him a 2-time champion, and then when he pins Harley Race and says he's now a 3-time world champion. Not really, since Ric Flair defeated Dusty Rhodes in September of '81. Had been his first win. Harley Race and Ric Flair have another trade of the titles in 1984. So this would be Ric Flair's second time, only second time as world champion. Again, it's one of the most legendary NWA matches. Ric Flair, Harley Race matches, Starrcade matches. It's not as fun as watching a Dusty Rhodes Ric Flair match, but for a Ric Flair Harley Race match, yes, notable, definitely worth watching. But I'd rather watch Dusty Rhodes Ric Flair. It's more fun to watch, and they beat the living hell out of each other. Yes, they beat the living hell out of each other in this match. Harley Race is a ring general. Ric Flair, this was Harley Race's patching. This match, Harley Race patched the torch to Ric Flair, and Starrcade became a Ric Flair show. So, to watch Harley Race, this was probably in the twilight of his career. Yes, being after 7-time world champion, he first won the title in 1973. Harley Race has been around quite a long time. He's a ring general. But in the twilight, this is Ric Flair. Pretty much the match. This is the show that match that made Ric Flair Starrcade. But I think what have made this match more fun is having referee Tommy Young, Gene Kiniski. Maybe he was deliberately slow, and he didn't want them using the steel cage. Yeah, one notable thing about the ending of this match is where Ric Flair and Harley Race Harley Race unknowing. Yeah, I'd say it was planned, but uh, I didn't notice that Harley Race head butted Gene Kinitsky, the referee. Oh my god, I didn't really notice that. The first time around, I noticed that, and then it's a real clumsy situation. And Ric Flair comes off the top rope, a kind of a awkward body press onto Harley Race. In a way, Harley Race trips over Gene Kaninsky, and Ric Flair pins Harley Race. And it wasn't even really a Ric Flair didn't even hook Harley Race's leg, small package, anything like that. The pinfall was awkward, and so was the referee. But for a Ric Flair Harley Race match, yes, it was. It'll always be known as one of the most legendary matches of all time.